Hello. This section's a little bit more intensive, but again, it's not information that you wouldn't have anywhere else. So it's going to require a bit of time to input, but it'll help out a lot later. So hopefully you can stick with me. So this part, we're going to be putting in the candidate competencies that you're seeking, and obviously this is going to vary from hiring manager to hiring manager, from position to position. So the main thing to remember here is that this is very flexible and dynamic, and whatever you're searching for, you'll be able to input. But it's just going to require some editing here. So first, you're going to click on this first expand tab, and you're going to click to see this table. And there's 5 spaces for competencies. That's okay if you don't use all of them, but there's up to 5 here. And what you're going to want to do is type in the 5 competencies that you're seeking, or as many competencies as you're seeking. So I'm just going to go over to the selection guidelines for Montgomery County and just use the sample ones here. So first competency we're seeking is job qualifications. The second one we're seeking is customer service orientation. And again, to access the blocks, you just click on them and then double click. It's the exact same thing as in Excel. Then we'll go for problem solving, personal accountability, and then diversity awareness. Okay, so again, this tells other parts of the coda what you want your competencies to be. So as you're starting the interview process, you'll start to see the things you type in now, how they help you later on. Now, the second table is more intensive, and this is where kind of the personalized informations and questions start. So what you're going to want to do is go over here and click expand again. Now, this is a big table, but don't be too intimidated. So basically what we've done is we've taken all of the sample questions from the selection guidelines and put them in here. So let's say you actually wanted, results orientation, and you wanted to use the Montgomery sample questions. We have them all in here for you. If you just click this little expand arrow, basically what you're going to see, and again, this is a lot of information, so stick with me for a second, is what you're going to see the full description of the quality or the competency right here, and then you're going to see the question that kind of elicits that quality or aims at finding that quality. But you can see these are all different questions. So what I've done is basically for results orientation, I've included the description of what that even means, and then included a bunch of sample questions to kind of get at that criteria. Now, I've used all of the sample selection guidelines from Montgomery County. You might not even know what that is if you don't use that document, but basically there's a lot of sample and kind of generic but useful criteria or competencies on this left side. If you don't want to use any of them at all, that's okay, and I'm going to show you how to put your own in, but I want to show first, for those who want to use them, how to access them. So if you want to use job qualifications, again, you click the expand button. What does job qualifications mean? Well, you have it in this full description, and then you have a bunch of questions that go at it. And again, this table is meant to kind of serve as a question bank for your desired competencies, and then later on, what we're going to see is that you're going to be able to draw on this table. But again, this is going to be a kind of require a bit of time to put in at the start. So let's say you don't want to use any of these sample, I guess it's 7 criteria. That's okay. What you're going to want to do is go down to this box that says add in your own desired competency, click it, and you'll see I've just put in a bunch of dummy data. So let's say you didn't want any of this and you want leadership because you're hiring a manager. That's fine. You put in leadership, type in what leadership means to you here. So this is the exact same full description as was in the other category. So let's say I want someone who leads, someone who knows how to manage a team. What you're going to want to do is copy this. So you hover over it, Command-C, and then Command-V down here. So you're just basically copying the description because obviously what leadership means is not going to change from question to question. Now, here's the part where, hopefully you're drawing from maybe some other list of questions that you're aiming to ask, or maybe from the selection guidelines or from a bank of questions that your department uses. But now you're going to type in your own question. So maybe name an example of when you led a team, and then name a time when it was hard to lead. these are just generic questions I'm coming up with. So you want to come up with as many as you need. Let's say there's more than you have space for here. So I think there's 8 or 9 here. You just click new row, and that's a common thing in Coda. It's really easy to make a new row. So then what I would do is I would copy the description again and then write a new question, sample question, and then you could do this exact same thing here. Let's say you have too few rows where you only wanted these 2 questions. You don't want a lot of questions about leadership. You're going to focus more time on other things. All you do is you simply highlight the rows that you don't want and delete 8 rows everywhere. And then you have these 2 questions. Now, what if you didn't want any of these qualities and you want to create 5 new qualities? Well, that's fine. All you do is, maybe you put in one here, leadership. You click this little plus button that adds a new group. And then all you do is you just type in, you have to expand the group. You just type in what you want that quality to be. So you want somebody, let's say, who's, you want a technical skill like programming ability. So now you can see you type in a new row. I click new row. And now it's just basically what we had before except completely blank. So what does this programming ability mean? Maybe you want a full stack developer who knows Python, R, etc. Has experience in projects with these languages. So the exact same thing. What's a question that hints at this? Because remember, this is the same column. Simple stuff. When, name a time you built something using Python. Okay? And then to create a new question, you just do the exact same thing. You copy and paste like you did for leadership, the description, and you write a new question. When have you used Stata to analyze data? And again, let's say you only want those 2 questions, you highlight and delete. Or if you want more, you can just add as many rows as you want for as many questions as you want. Now, finally, you're going to do this for every question, right? So, or for every competency, rather. So let's say I want another one that's empathy. And then I would put in questions here. I would put in the description of empathy. And then you would put in, what does empathy mean to you? So you could do that for 5 qualities, as many as you have, and you just fill in the questions. And it's really as simple as that. And now, at the very end, you're probably going to want to get rid of these. So all you have to do is right-click on them and delete group. Right-click on the group you don't want, delete group. And then you'll be left with the groups you want at the end. I've also included sample closing questions in here from the Montgomery County. These don't go to a certain competency, so there's no full description of the competency. If you want to use these, of course, more than welcome to. But I suspect that most people will have their own closing questions, won't want to ask specific closing questions. So again, just delete the group if you don't want it. And that's all for step 2. I know that was a lot, but hopefully we were able to go through it together and it wasn't too bad. Thanks so much for sticking with me.